I'd like to go over 3 watercolor artists with you and how they capture the feeling of a place. Andrew Wyeth is definitely one of my favorite watercolor artists. He was alive from 1917 to 2009 and mostly created paintings in Pennsylvania and Maine. This painting, called Evening at Kerner's by Wyeth, is a great example of how he creates strong values and points of interest that draw your eye so strongly that you don't look closely at many other areas. If you look closely at the painting, you'll see, especially in these closer trees, some places where the tree branches haven't been painted very detailed at all. So there's a great contrast between the areas where he's drawing your eye and there's an incredible amount of detail, and some other areas that are almost sloppy. In this example, fence line, you can see even more obviously how Wyeth only paints those details which are needed to draw the eye with extreme detail. And then here with these grasses in the snow, many of them are just simple brush marks. In this example, called Fields of Broad Cove, the grasses in the foreground are very simple brush marks, but the darker values and intense details in the middle and background of the picture draw your eye to the point where you don't even notice them. Winslow Homer is another very famous watercolor artist who is alive from 1836 to 1910 and mostly created his paintings in Maine. This example, called Pickering Fishing, is a really great painting to show how you can use lively, bright colors in the foreground and muted colors in the background to create the illusion of space. In this one, called Young Ducks, Winslow has created almost a black and white with the muted colors in the background, and the only warm colors in the painting are on the figures and the canoe in the foreground. This one, Hunter in Adirondacks, you can see Winslow using warm colors again in the foreground to create the illusion of space when contrasted with the muted grayish colors and really indistinct details in the background. Maud Durland is a contemporary artist, meaning she is currently creating artwork, and she's from Portland, Oregon. She mostly paints scenes in Northern California and Italy because she prefers Tuscan scenes. This Carneros painting is a great example of using bright yellows and greens to represent a bright sunny day, but have those colors fade into almost white as they stretch back into the background along the edges of the vineyards. This painting, called Glade, is a great example of vertically stacking the near to far with an extreme detail in the grasses to really create the illusion of space when compared to the really muted hills in the background. This painting, September Afternoon, is another great example of using bands of color to draw your eye back towards the background, and it also creates the impression of movement through the brushstrokes, almost as if the wind is rushing through the grasses and blowing them in a direction. You can learn more about each of these 3 artists at watercolorpainting.com, and there's also many other artists that have been profiled there. I recommend checking it out. Now it's your turn to choose a favorite painting either from this presentation or from doing your own research on watercolorpainting.com. Then make a post in the discussion about your favorite painting and respond to a classmate.
Created using Powtoon.